what's in your eyes. Rocky, Malachi, Papa Wimba.
Here's Gabriel, everybody. It's been kind of tough for him to get any gigs since this whole COVID thing, so we thought we'd bring him in a little live streaming here. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi. I'm glad that you all responded to my phone call when I called you and asked you to come here tonight. Thank you. You didn't have to. You could have done any number of things with yourselves this evening, but you said no. I'm going to go to the Lakeside Theater and I'm going to listen to some stories. Yep. And you all have stories to tell, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you were so inclined, had a few maybe at the local pub or perhaps a family gathering of some sort, you'd be willing to tell a story, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Always, that's right. Don't you forget that, baby. Well, last night was a fun time. Small crowd, and there's a reason. We know why. It's not any great mystery. They knew that I was going to be here, so they thought that we just we'll hold off and maybe go to the next thing. Now this whole COVID thing, it's interfered with our lives. It definitely has played havoc with some, and I myself was somewhat conflicted doing something like this. I thought, yeah, really. At this time, and I said, yes. Are you kidding me? If ever there's a time, this is the time. You find some level of normalcy again, and what the RFA is doing, they're keeping it in a way that's, you feel safe, you feel secure, and it's greatly appreciated. And I also thought we do this, bring in a couple dollars certainly, and just have actual live event again here. It's been an entire summer. We're finding ourselves on August 8th. And we're having our first, we've had the art opening, we've had some, people walking through, but this is the first live event, and thank goodness. And I thought, out of the kindness of my heart I'd do this, but then I was speaking to my ex a few days ago, and she said, no, Tim, you just want to be on stage again. Hell yeah! Is there a problem with that? I got the stage under the feet again, get the lights washing over me? Yes, you go home, I don't care, I'll just stand here by myself. Yeah, right.
Doesn't want you to leave. Honest.
You've been sticking around too long. All right, so first, before we bring up our first storyteller, I thought we'd spend a good, 15, 20 minutes just talking about politics for a little bit. Okay, how about COVID-19? No. See, now I've been trying to get people to start calling it C-19. You get rid of a syllable, it's faster, it becomes recognizable. But then that wasn't catching on. No one was going with my groove, and so I thought, hey, 587, that's what we'll call it. And I told the people last night, and then I never came back again to, no I didn't, I just kind of walked away. And the clue is if you put addition signs between the letters.
Right.
Right?
Right.
What is that? Well, it's Roman numeral.
Yeah.
Yeah, C
C
is
100.
plus 0, still 100,
100.
plus V, which is,
5.
that's 105, plus I, that's what?
1.
That's 106, plus D, that's what?
1,000.
500,
5.
606, minus 19 equals 587, yes! So from now on, when you're talking to people out there and say, oh man, this damn 587 is really bumming me out. Okay, so, yeah, blah, 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 exit signs, all that stuff. Who's kidding? People just follow her. If there's a problem, we'll all get out just fine. We have great storytellers here tonight. I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your lives to do this. It's greatly appreciated. We have, let's see, in between the stories, just going to have 1 minute. Relax, maybe talk to the person next to you about something that you noticed or something that you heard. Cleanse your palate, as it were. All right. Or maybe clean your ear and get ready for the next person. And if anybody is so inclined, you want to come up after the third storyteller, I'll put it out there. If anyone wants to come up and just tell a 2-3 minute story of your own, please, by all means do. If not, down the road, we'll be doing this again. Please, by all means, take advantage take a chance, put yourself out there, and share your own story. We have, let's see. Okay, yeah, you know, dedication. It's not a minor thing. There's, it's, again, small audience. But there was a student of mine from the class of 2016, Shannon Wallstrom, who passed away in early May. And she was a dedicated member of the RFA on stage as an employee with the after-school program with the kids. She was phenomenal as a teacher. She was one of those dream students. Pam could attest to this as she danced with her for all those years. And she's one hell of a storyteller. So I would just like to dedicate tonight to Shannon Wallstrom. Yeah. Loved her madly. Okay, there. That's all I got to say. Now, bringing up the first storyteller. This young lady joined us, permanently around 2 years ago. Yeah, around 2 years ago. She's lived in many, many places. She has been a great addition to the RFA on stage as well as backstage. Absolute delight. Can't wait to hear her story. Put your hands together for Amanda Christian.
So what is courage? Straube put that subject out there and I'm going, courage. I can't think of anything. I haven't been in the military. I'm not a law enforcement officer. I'm not a first responder. I'm not a teacher. Believe me. They have courage nowadays. So, what am I going to talk about? So, I looked up the definition of courage in the dictionary, and then that led me to looking at all the synonyms. And so, that started me down chasing the purple-tailed squirrel down the rabbit hole. Because I can call moments in my life where people have said, oh, how could you do that? You must be brave, or in negative terms, how could you do that? But all these things came together, and I had a very nice memory trip back to when I was really young to present day about different times people have said, you were brave, or use different terminology. Someone used the term with me last year, you challenged yourself to get up on that stage and sing. Have never sang in public before, and I got up here and I did that. So there was a little bit of bravery there, and I'm going, okay, good. I can talk about some things. So then I got thinking, and I want to share a story with you because I believe courage manifests itself in different ways throughout our life. When we're young, we're little, we have a joy of the world. We're not afraid of anything. We haven't learned to be afraid. We have a naivete. Of course, then you go into teenage years and you're indestructible, right? And then you get older and you can kind of think through things and weigh the pros and the cons, and am I going to kill myself doing this, or might I end up with a broken leg? And determine if you're going to do that thing, right? So I want to share a very small story about when I was little and I exhibited naivete while my mother had a heart attack. So we moved, my family says we moved. I said I was forcibly relocated from New Hampshire to Southwest Florida against my will at the age of 4, almost 5 years old. We moved to Naples, Florida, which is on the west coast of Florida, on the Gulf Coast, on the Gulf of Mexico. And my parents were teachers at the time, both of them. And we were brought in, this was really early 70s, for desegregation. It wasn't the black girl walking into the school, it was the white girl walking into the economically deprived black school. So that was me, kindergarten. Had no clue, had no concept of race, nothing. So that's how we ended up in Florida, and I was very glad to leave Florida. If you like Florida, good for you. But one of the things I did enjoy about Florida was the beach. And one of our family rituals was to go to the beach in the later afternoon when it wasn't so hot and the sun wasn't so bright so you wouldn't get as burned. And we'd go swimming and playing in the sand. That was my mother's TV for us. And so we went to the beach. I was a good swimmer. They always joked that I swam before I walked, thanks to my cousins. And off we go, we're at the beach. I go out in the water. I'm about 400 yards out, which seems far, and it probably is, but I was 4. I was almost 5. It didn't bother me. I was comfortable in the water. I could swim. I was on a float, floating around. What could be better, right? So then these creatures started circling my float. And they were gorgeous. They were gray and white, and they just circled my float, right? My mother sees this from the shore and is going, Amanda, get in here now. And I'm going, Mommy, look, right? You know how this goes when you're 4 years old and your parents, this whole, Mommy, look, get in here now. Mommy, look, right? So my mother's really getting hysterical now on the beach. We've been in Naples maybe a month at this point. And I'm on the water and I'm ignoring my mother. And I'm just enjoying these beautiful creatures in the water. And so they're swimming around, and my mother is now, on the verge of collapse. And a gentleman walks up to her and says, Ma'am, are you okay? And she explains that, hysterically, that, her daughter's out in the water and there's sharks out there, right? And they're going to eat her. And he calms her down. And he said, Ma'am, those are dolphins. And she was like, oh. So I'm out in the water playing with the dolphins, and he did verify that I could swim. And he said, they might bump the raft and bump her off, and they might play with her in the water, and but they're not going to hurt her. They're definitely not going to eat her. So I'm out in the water, and I am loving playing with these dolphins. These are wild dolphins that came up to the beach. It was a pod about 10, 12 dolphins. And it was just a beautiful experience. I went underwater with them because I ditched the raft to swim with them and try to mimic how they swim. And I think that gave me the love of doing the butterfly. And then, and tried to talk to them. And it was just a wonderful experience. And I think that's mine as a child. That was my naivete, that I didn't realize the danger I was in. That, I was 400 yards out, and there were these other creatures in the water. I eventually came in, and my mother was happy, and we went home, and I think I was grounded for 200 years or something. And so, but it's just one of those little stories that going down that rabbit hole, chasing that purple-tailed squirrel, that I remembered. And I so thank Straubby, for wherever you are, for giving me that opportunity. Later in my life, I've done things that people have thought were quite dangerous. I used to hang glide. Gave that up to, and they're like, people do call me crazy. I accept that moniker. because I gave up hang gliding to adopt my son from Russia as a single parent. So you can always pick where you're going to be courageous and how you're going to present yourself. You can always run away from something or you can face it. I encourage you to face it. I encourage you to challenge yourself, and next time that they have these table talks, put yourself out there and come up and tell a story. You won't regret it. Thank you.
Cleanse your palate, talk to your neighbors. Hey, one more time, Amanda Christian. Yeah, it does. It takes a certain amount of bravery for just getting out of bed, for God's sake. I tell my kids that every single day it's all about navigating and negotiating. Every single step, every single decision, every move you make, you're navigating your way out of bed, you're negotiating just to get yourself out of bed, and yeah, and the bravery that it takes to do something like this sometimes can definitely test you. Kitchen table. Yeah, decided on the name, the kitchen table. We'll get into that some other time. But it's one of the ideas was what, the porch light, the front porch, I think, were two others. Yeah, where do people get together and they just sit there and rap? The campfire, yeah, the campfire, man. But we settled on the kitchen table, and for good reason. Okay, you ready, bro? Hey, dude!
Yes, dude.
This guy, what, we just met, what, a couple weeks ago?
Take me to your leader.
Oh. Oh. Before I forget, wrote a book, so he's a verifiable storyteller. It's fantastic. I haven't finished it yet. I'm more than halfway through. It's been fantastic getting to know the world that you lived in all those years. And I can't wait to see just a snapshot of it here today with everybody. This guy's so handsome, as you can see now with his mask off. He's loved by all children, small animals, and not by fish. Fish, yeah, they're kind of afraid of him for good reason. If you would, put your hands together for the storytelling stylings of Rob Holbrook.
Hi, Rangeley. I got two things I want to ask you about first thing before I go on with the story. Does anyone know what a BFB is? Think about this real good. It's a big fuzzy bear. So I spent a good time of my life in Alaska. I was a fly fishing guide, so I have stories. The other one I want you to know is back in the day they had a whistle stop, and it's a railroad train. And they still have one in the United States. It's in Alaska. It runs 100 miles up the way, and you can get the conductor to drop you off anywhere you want. Well, we're fly fishing crazy people. So one of the ways we get away from all others is take the whistle stop. And the conductor will drop us off at a place called Troublesome Creek. Why do they call this Troublesome Creek? I wonder. If they've got BFBs, that's the reason. So my buddy, Bad Dave, we call him Bad Dude. His real name is Dave Bonham. He's a cop. But the reason we call him Bad Dude. So I said, Bad Dude, why don't we do a junket up? We'll take the train. We'll go up to Troublesome Creek. And we'll spend 3 days. We'll make camp. And we'll play with the bears and the fishies. And I know you won't believe this about rainbow trout this big. Ooh, there it is. Troublesome Creek right there. So we hop on the choo-choo train that morning. We travel light. We've got a cooler, 100-quart dropper with prime rib in it, and all the fixings. And we've got beer. Can't go without beer. Look at all this stuff, it's on the train. And off we go, heading up the tracks, heading north out of Solar, Alaska. And we had a 2-hour ride on the train. And the conductor stops the train, we get off, get all our stuff off, the train goes away. So, Bad Dude and I, we take one end of the cooler, put something over our straps in our back, and we go off to this place that we camp. And it takes us a couple of trips, takes us a little while to get there. And this is one of the best fly fishing spots in Alaska. This place is awesome. It's all stupid fishing, you know, you don't have to use science, just get out there with that fly rod, you know, and poke one right in the lips. So we had a great time that day. We got a camp all set up, dug a hole, put the cooler in it so it stays cold for 3 days, got everything all set, and down to the creek we go. And we had a wonderful afternoon, evening, got back to camp, cooked prime rib, yes we did. We bring all the fixings, we had a wonderful time. Had a good night, next day we got up, had a breakfast. And you know, when you're cooking bacon and eggs in the morning in prime BFB territory, it can be quite an allure, so you have to be a touch bit careful here. So we cleaned up really good, got everything cleaned up the creek, went down and we spent the day fly fishing. And we had a terrific day. So I don't know, about 6 o'clock, you know, we had already had lunch, but we were ready. We've had enough fly fishing for the day. And off we go back to camp. And we get, I don't know, 20 yards away from camp, and there's a BFB in our tent. Oh no, bad dude, look at that, there's a BFB, and there's this caboose sticking out the back of our tent. What's wrong with this picture? This is anti-courage. Bad dude, why don't you take your fly rod, give him a tickle on the rump, see what happens. Oh no, Rob, I don't think that's dangerous. So what do you think we should do? We'll take out our hand cannons, aim at a tree, pull the trigger, ba-boom! 244 Magnums going off at the same time makes a bit of a racket. And it hurts the tree really bad too, but we didn't like that tree. All of a sudden, the bear, he didn't try to go backwards, he did not have reverse. Straight forward toward the back of the tent, and here come these claws out the back of the tent, and there's a face. Hello, I'm a BFB. Now he's hung up. The back legs are trying to get purchased, but they're in the tent, and he's stuck. His head's out, his front feet are out, but his caboose is inside, and all that other stuff that does digging. Finally, he wore a hole in the bottom of that tent, and his feet got purchased, and he was wearing the tent like a diaper. This is my tent. I sleep in there at night. My stuff, all my good stuff is in this tent. And this bear finally got moving. And there's the tent, and all the stuff is flying around. You know, it's all coming up, but he's got this tent on like a diaper. And I'm saying, bad dude, what are we gonna do? He says, keep track of where it went wrong. We'll find him. So, sure enough, a little time went by, and we collected, oh, there's my toothbrush. Got toothbrush back, and we eventually, over the period of the next couple of hours, we got everything back, even the tent, but it had holes everywhere, in the bottom, in the back, and all we could do was try a piece of rope around and put it over our gear for the night and sleep out and kind of in the open. But that was a BFB story that I wanted to tell you. I have another one. You don't get rid of me easy, you know. I don't go away, I like to talk. And this happens to be about another BFB. I'm with my chocolate Labrador Retriever, English by the way, beautiful dog. And we were all playing. I was in Sitka, I was on an island, I was on Baranof Island. We're all playing with a stick, and she did really well. I tripped, fell, broke my left ankle. Really? Why is it going to be like that? So I go to the hospital, I get my ankle fixed up. A couple days later, I'm living in a holiday rambler. I know you've probably heard a lot of stories about holiday ramblers, but this was a good one. Didn't leak, you know, it was slightly bear-proof, although I woke up one morning and on my picnic table, which was right next to my window in my dining area in my holiday rambler, there was a BFB sleeping on top of my table. Who thought that could happen? So this Labrador Retriever and I looking out at BFB, I have a BFB, and he's looking at us, and he's this far away. He's right outside my window. And so, I mean, I was originally from the East Coast. We got little BFBs around here, but out there they got the big giant models. So anyway, this bear was there, and it was all good. We had breakfast, we had coffee, and the bear went away. So later on, we're outside, and I still have my coffee. But I'm also on crutches, crutch. Stop, open the coffee, have it. Close coffee, crutch. Doggie's out there doing her doggy thing, and we're going down this little path, little gravel path the Forest Service had put in there, and there's an old abandoned outbuilding. One of those wonderful things called a privy. And we just get past it. And all of a sudden, Doggie comes running back toward me. And she's all shaking, and she sits down right beside me. Doggie, what's wrong? And I look down the trail. The biggest BFB I've ever seen in my life. This thing was a 10 square bear. It's 10 foot tall, 10 foot wide, and you call it sir. I had no place to go. I'm on crutches. It's right there with my wife. My wife. And I said to Doggie, what do we do? Well, let's jump in the outhouse. Where else do we go? I can't crutch fast enough. So 2 or 3 crutches, we're in the outhouse. Wafer thin door, 1/8 inch plywood. Got a hole about this big all the way along the bottom, ventilation, I guess. And they got this little hasp, little gold jobber. Security. Doing good, huh? All of a sudden, underneath the door comes a nose, this big brown thing. So I took my crutch and I said, hello. Boom! I blaff him in the nose disappears. That worked. Uh-oh, I still hear him breathing. He's still out there. Then there was a footy. Come underneath the door. That means he's belly up. And like me, I do toothbrush at night and I get a toothbrush down on my belly. So, sorry about that little humor. So here's his BFB, he's outside, and his foot's underneath the door, so I let him have it with a crutch. The foot stayed there. Oh no, this is Bruno. So one more time, boom, with a crutch, and the crutch goes, whoop. It goes around corners now. Well, the foot disappeared, but I could still hear him. So, a moment of wisdom and courage. I said, Doggie, what do we do? I know he's out there, I hear him, and I can actually smell him. BFBs kind of smell a little fishy because that's what they eat a lot of, hopefully not people. So I said to myself, what do I do? So here we go. I'm going to hop up on the toilet, and I'm going to look at the gable end, which is all chicken wire, and I'm going to have a grand view of whatever is tormenting me out there, BFB. So up on the seat, I've only got one crutch, so I got to help myself, push myself up on that seat with the crutch, and he's right there. He's looking at me, I'm looking at him, want to kiss? I'm blowing wind at you. What to do? And I'm looking at these beady little eyes, and they do, they're very tiny little eyes. And in a moment of wisdom, I screamed like a baby, like a child, like a girl. And fell off the toilet. It was slippery from dew. What did you do? Well, the dew landed on the toilet seat. Well, I slipped off the toilet seat, landed on the dog. The dog is screaming to high heavens, woof, 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 Dad's after me, and I'm screaming, oh no, I'm going to die, he's going to eat me. He went away. Pretty far out, huh? So those are my 2 bear stories for the night. I want to thank you for coming, enjoying my insanity with me. It's fun.
PFBs, very nice.
Fuzzy Bears, doesn't everyone know that?
Yeah, fuzzy indeed. Yeah, also a vet, Navy,
A what?
Navy vet,
Yes, absolutely, combat vet.
Vietnam.
We like combat,
Yeah,
throw missiles at each other.
yeah, yeah. He does. He's got many, many stories, and hopefully he'll come back and share them with us again.
Love to.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Okay, next up. You guys ready?
Yes.
Okay, next up, we've got one of our very own locals. You've been living in Rangeley now for how long?
This will be my 6th year.
6th year. Bam. Just like that.
Yeah.
Another RFA mainstay. Diva shows and musicals, and she'll be in the 5-act, well, there's going to be 5 single acts on August 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and you'll be doing one of your own. All right? Yeah, well, I'll be here. Can't wait to see it. If you would, for our singing seamstress, the owner of So It Seems, Anna Shirley.
Well, the night of August 25th, 2005, found me leaving Roque Bluffs, Maine, in an ambulance headed to the emergency room. My boyfriend had just beaten me up with a club. And when I got to the emergency room, my mother and my uncle, who was from California and was visiting, arrived and walked in. And my uncle just simply said to me, "Come live in California with me and Diane until you get back on your feet again." And I said yes, as if I had been planning this for months. And within a few days, we were on the West Coast. My 4-year-old daughter and I. So I was in a lot of pain in a new area, and I had already been in pain in other reasons for my life, and I had been taking pills, and I didn't want to take any more Excedrin, any more pain, so pain medicine. So I had decided I wanted to explore marijuana, and I had made the decision. I was going to a coffee shop, and I was going to look for someone who looked like they might have marijuana or knew how to get me some, and then I would have it, and I did. And so, and he did, and he provided that and some more. And not even a few weeks later, I woke up on the morning that I should have had my period, realizing that I had had my birth control taken out the day before I was beat up. And I thought, well, great. How can I make my life any worse? I'm really good at this. Not only was I in excruciating pain, I had defended my life with my arms because he came at me with a club. And I was already barely able to touch my daughter and pushing her away from me because it hurt. So I thought, well, if I'm a really open-minded person, which I never would consider myself to be, I would consider an abortion. And so I called the doctor's office, and without hesitation, the receptionist scheduled the initial visit on my birthday. And I basically just hung up the phone. This is not gonna happen. It's not for me. And I thought, well, I've always heard that adoption is the better option. I already had one child without a father. I didn't want to have another one without a father. And I also didn't see myself holding a baby for a couple of years. So I thought, well, I will look up the people who are interested in adopting and see what's out there. And so I did. And I looked at independent couples who were not going through agencies. And I saw a lot of people with a lot of goals and passions and interests in life that I felt would indeed benefit my child. And it opened my mind up to just really wanting the better life for him that I knew I couldn't give. So I had gotten a part-time job at a cute little organic bakery, and I didn't know many people, but I told my boss what was going on and that I really wanted to give the baby up for adoption, but I didn't want to go through an agency. If she knew anybody, why not? And she did. She said, I haven't seen them in a couple of years, and I don't know if they're still looking, but if I do see them, do I have permission to speak to them? And I said yes. So not even another month later, and my daughter and I walk into the bakery, just something to do. And we see my boss talking to a couple. And she sees me and she just jumps because she's got caught in an act. And she's like, here, this is them. You go talk to them. And so I did. They had just gotten a puppy because they had given up. And so the wife and the puppy Luna and my daughter went off and talked. And I talked to Peter because, of course, it was a dad I was most interested in. And what kind of man would be raising my son. I have intuition about my children. I've been right every time. And I just felt such peace. He's such a calm, peaceful, intelligent man. And I had, for some reason, there was two particular things that struck me that they hadn't sought in vitro or to, I would say, force it on themselves. They just wanted to love. They had done everything else in the world. They were around 50, so agencies no longer considered them as viable parents. And so after talking with them for a little while, we came to the table both only wanting open adoption. He had a brother who had been adopted and didn't know about his life, and it haunted him, and it didn't end very well. And so that was great. And then we started to get to know each other. They would come over and hang out and take us out to dinner and go for walks and explain to my daughter everything about nature because he was a geographist, or is. He lives in Alaska now. And they were very supportive and also, of course, very eager. And they would go to our doctor's appointments with us, which was great. It was nice for them to be involved, and I felt understanding of her not being able to have a child and my equal frustration at having them. And I was willing to share that. But the midwife, who was a midwife, but she was not delivering at home anymore, happened to also be from Maine. And so we were sort of just like immediate allies. And she was my backup woman. And we would sneak visits in between sometimes, just kind of, make sure I was okay. And then through the pregnancy, they also sent me to a massage therapist who was just a wonderful woman who took me in and kind of just helped me in a lot of ways to come at peace with this and support me through the whole thing. It turned out that she had a son that she had been forced to give up for adoption when she was 18, who's my age. And so in some ways it was the healing process for her as well. And she stayed with me through the pregnancy, and I ended up having her with me when I gave birth. And, but the pregnancy itself seemed to last forever. It was long and agonizing and lonely and painful in some ways because I couldn't eat, and I just felt I was in so much pain, and I just felt so wrong and so stupid. And one night I was alone, and I was just crying in the shower. Not just your regular crying, but just moaning and wailing and just letting it all out. Apparently it was enough that the neighbor behind me asked my other neighbor, who was like the property manager, if I was okay. I didn't call the police and have someone tear my door down and interrupt my life, just wanted to make sure I was okay. And in just little tiny ways, I kind of felt supported. And even through this whole thing, we even got a free VW bus, which was kind of fun. So my daughter had always, the 3 or 4 years she was alive, wanted a sibling. And here she finally had one. And I had to finally let her know that it wasn't ours. And that he was actually going to belong to Peter and Alcida. And I was just carrying it for them. And she just said, well, that's okay. I like them. And there were still other tears and grief around all of that. They did throw like a baby shower of sorts for us, which was a very sweet and beautiful experience. And then it just got time. It was just done, and I was there, and I didn't have anything in me anymore to go any further. And my midwife said, you're so close. Just stay the night in the hospital, in the morning we'll induce you. So they did. They pop me and I wouldn't pop. My body was like, no, this is ours. And so they had to give me some morphine, and this all natural mama gave in and didn't like that too much, but we did. And we called Peter and Alcida in just in time to be there. And they witnessed his birth and were able to cut his cord and named him and were part of the whole process. It was it was like the 24 hours of morphine wear off, and the emotions started to hit. And part of the deal that I had made, or we had made, was that legally my son and daughter would be brother and sister. And two, that it would be an open adoption, obviously, we could visit and call. And three was that I would breastfeed him for 4 days in the hospital because I hadn't written an undergraduate thesis paper on breastfeeding for nothing. So I did. I knew that was the last gift I could give him. And she did try to convince me otherwise, because she knew I would probably fall in love with him, which I did. But I had signed paperwork. I had to have 2 psychological evaluations to determine whether or not I was of sound mind to make this choice. And within all of that, I also signed paperwork saying that I would not change my mind, or even change my mind about changing my mind. And I agreed, just because I knew that was the best thing at the time. And so I had him in the hospital, and I'm looking at this little boy, and my mom had always said that when I was born, she thought I was the homeliest baby in the world, and that I looked like Charlie Brown. So I hated Charlie Brown for all of that. But then, when my son was born, I looked at his face and all I could see was Charlie Brown. And I'm like, great, this is my son. And so when the morphine wore off, and I had him with me, the agony started to hit pretty bad. And I thought, what have I done? And around 3 o'clock in the morning or so, I don't know, I called my friend who'd been with me, and we talked, and through hours of talking with tears, it turned to joy about the opportunities that had been provided for many, not just myself, my son, but for his parents, and who knows, what else. But I did feel the joy of knowing that this wasn't a waste. This beautiful being was here, and he would have a pretty amazing life. I thought I would be able to hand him over to them, but I could not do that. So I said goodbye, and I walked out of the hospital. And then they came in. So that's my story. That's part of the story. Thank you very much. That's Marcus. No. And Gabriel also.
One more time, Anna Shirley. All right, I got the 1 year hang going on right here, right? Pretty cool? You guys do that? Come out of the story like, all right, I don't have time. Just gonna let it hang. Gotta put it back on really fast. You also got the peekaboo nose. Look, you all do that? Yeah. How about the hammock for the chin? You all do that? Yeah. How about the pirate? Aye. Right? Jewish mask? No. Okay. All right. Okay. Ethan Schaefer was not able to make it here tonight. We do have another one, which she was here last night. Fantastic story. Very excited to have her back again to share. She chases the weather wherever she goes. That's between Arizona and Maine. Very wise woman. if you would put your hands together and greet the story of Laura Sadler-Harperink. Let's do. Sanitary.
I'm kind of like Tim, it's a little loud, that you give me a chance to be back on stage, I'm taking it. I was here last night to tell, and I just came back tonight to listen, but Tim said, do you want to tell again? I said, sure. So anyway, the tale that I had to share with you has to do with the fact that I've been a choral singer all of my life, in high school, college, and then post-college. And in my years in Cincinnati, I sang with a chorus called the Cincinnati May Festival Chorus. And the rehearsal conductor for that chorus started taking, you pay your own way, but he would put together a tour of different parts of the world that you could go and sing and be with fellow choristers that love to sing, and so you're with like-minded people that you enjoy their company, and you got to visit the world. And my first husband at the time said to me, he says, I think you ought to go on one of those trips. And I thought, gee, I'd like to do that, you know. And the trip that they had gone on that particular year is they had gone to Yugoslavia. And no more than they got home, Yugoslavia's government fell apart. And so they accused John Lehman, who was the rehearsal conductor, that he had a knack of visiting countries and destroying their governments. Well, the next year, I found myself separated from my husband, pursuing a divorce, and we ran a neighborhood cafe together. He did most of the physical part, and I kind of managed the employees and did the accounting and the money and that sort of thing. And the powers that be decided that since we were so troublesome together that we probably shouldn't be in the same place, so they kicked me out of the business but kept my salary. Pretty good gig. So while I took a few months to figure out what I was going to do with the rest of my life professionally and personally, I thought, hey, he told me I should go on that trip, singing, and they were going to Eastern Europe. So I was going to go to Czechoslovakia and Hungary and Poland and wonderful Austria. Fabulous, fabulous places. So I put down my money and I was going on this trip. Well, I didn't have a roommate. Most people were going with their spouses or a friend that they already knew, or my best friend that I carpooled with was taking her daughter. Anyway, I got to room with one of the professionals that was hired to do the solos. And she actually sang with a paid choir in Cincinnati, who one of my classmates from college sang in that paid choir as well. And I had known him from concert choir in my college days, and so I had a little bit of connection with her. So anyway, she, as we were traveling, she liked to sit right in the front seat of the tour bus behind the bus driver, and she started to share with me a little bit about her personal life. And she had, I forget what her regular job, you know, paid singers can hardly live off of just that. And so she did have another job, and she had one child who she was very proud of. He was 10 years old, and she shared his picture. And she was happily married, but what I realized is she was man crazy. She was flirting with this bus driver constantly. She had a little translation book from Czech to English, and so she managed to use that enough to talk with him regularly and got to really kind of know him personally. And as we would travel down the road through the towns, she would see a good-looking man and she would punch me. Hey, look at that guy. Wow, look at him. And I was not interested in men. They were on the bottom of my list. I wanted nothing to do with them. They had done nothing but treat me badly. So I told her, I said, you know what? You're about to injure me until I'm going to have to go to the hospital if you don't stop punching me and having me look at men. So I said, here's the deal. If you see a good-looking guy, instead of hitting me, just say, hunk alert. And if I decide to look, I will. But please stop hitting me. So that worked out a lot better. I still got a lot of hunk alerts, but I could pick and choose whether I wanted to look or not. Well, this one particular day when we didn't have any tours scheduled, we had a free day, and she had found out that this bus driver had a cabin. Now we were, on the Danube River, and I'm not sure that his cabin was on the Danube, but it was on a body of water somewhere. And she was taking her bathing suit, and she was going to go, and I said, I would really like to get to know just some regular people in Czechoslovakia too. And it was still Czechoslovakia at that time. The rift was beginning, but they hadn't split yet. And she said, okay. So that night before the day where she was supposed to go and visit, or we were supposed to go and visit, she said, would you mind if I reneged on my invitation? Because she would like to have a little tryst with this bus driver. And I said, whatever, I'll find something else to do. Go ahead. I was a little disappointed, but, it was her. She had wangled the invitation, not me. Well, I failed to include the main part of this story was that one of the things that she had brought with her on the trip were dried apricots. And we were eating those on the bus, and they were a great thing to have, kind of keeps you regular, as you travel. And so as fate would have it, she was taking some of those dried apricots to give away to the bus driver, on her day of visiting him in his cabin and whatnot. So that evening she gets back, and I'm real eager to hear about her visit with, the day and how it went. And she came in the room carrying a jar of apricots. And I said, where and why did you get those? She says, well, when I got to the cabin, his wife was there. And she gave me some apricots to bring home. And I gave her some dried apricots. And that's the story of the apricot exchange.
Sadler-Harperink. Hyphenated name. Hyphenated. It's a long name. I had suggested maybe just mash them together. It's Laura Sadler-Harperink. I think it was Farrah Fawcett that started the whole thing, didn't she? Farrah Fawcett Majors. Could have just been Farrah Forgers. Yes. Hey, Pam, can you do me a favor? Maybe check that door right there. I think Laura might be coming down and need to come through, or Shirley. You know you got a small audience when you know everybody by their first name. Except you guys. I don't know you guys. I want to get to know you, though. What's your name?
Tim and Sylvia.
Tim and
Sylvia.
Sylvia? Yeah, my name's Sylvia, too. Thank you. Okay, so here we are. Number 5, storytelling fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're saving, you know this guy. We were so lucky that he's made the travel here today, 75 miles just to deliver this tale. He was our minister for 5 years at the Episcopal Church. He, I want to get this right. Don't want to mess it up, Jud. Let's see. He grew up. No, he was raised in Ohio. Really?
I was born in Ohio.
You were born in Ohio. Really?
The high school there.
You did.
Moved to New England.
You grew up in New England.
Yeah. I didn't grow up until I got to New England.
No. Same here. I didn't grow up
That's
until I
part
was
of my
here.
story.
We won't ruin it then. And he's waiting to see where he will one day die. Jud Pealer.
I just need a few props because I'm a little bit old. So, it may not occur to you that this is possible, regardless of what you think I look like. I one time ran a half marathon, and I did it in Lake Placid, New York. And the reason I came to share that with you because I think I need a test. Is Val paying attention? Val, can you give us the first? Yeah, okay. 66, 67, 68. All right. Slide number 2. Perfect. Thank you. You turn them off now. They'll come back to haunt us. I was what do they call it? Slow to bloom. I was a little kid when I was growing up. I was uncoordinated, I was too small, and I was too short, so I was always last. But when I got to middle age, and we raised a family, I had 3 kids, and all 3 of them were runners, and they ran in junior high and high school and college, and I've driven thousands of miles to go track meets, and I've spent hundreds of hours watching them practice, and it was inevitable that they would one day say, "Dad, you want to go running?" And it was fun. You get caught up in it, and so sure. And it was a lot of fun. It was a wonderful thing to do with my 3 kids. We built a relationship there, but when I was running with them, our relationship changed. I had not 3 kids, but 3 coaches, and they would say, "Are you all right? You don't look too good. Yeah. Are we going too fast? Hydrate. So things like that. And like I say, it was a good experience growing up with our kids. And I started doing running regularly on my own, and enjoyed it, but not so much in the last couple of years, as we can tell. So anyway, there was an opportunity to go to Lake Placid. As a minister, you don't get a lot of extra money to go on fancy vacations, so it was always my plan to get a calling to a church that was a destination place. So I was on vacation all the time. So I lived in Lake Placid for a while, and I lived in Rangeley for a while, and I'm yet to move to Alaska, but never know. How many people, do you know Lake Placid?
No.
No? Oh, well, it's like a little piece of New York City in the middle of the Adirondacks. All these gorgeous mountains all the way around, and in every corner there's a hotel and a restaurant, and there's all these little stores that you can go to, and outlet stores, and you can shop your heart's content in the middle of the mountains. And the place is very similar to Rangeley, except Rangeley has never had the Winter Olympics, and they've had it twice. And that does have an impact on your community. And then they have a lot of multimillionaires. And so I got called to the church in Lake Placid, and it was an exciting place to be. You could walk down the street and hear languages from anywhere in the world. Bruce Springsteen would come down the street. Sometimes a guy with a parrot would walk down the street. There was Bill Clinton drove right down the street in front of my house. I don't know why, but so anything could happen there, and they had all kinds of sports. You could go hiking, fishing, canoeing, winter sports, and everyone was young and athletic. And they came from all over the world, for this was an international training center for winter sports. So, wow, what a place. And it was so exciting to live there. And so it was easy to get into the running thing, you know, because everybody's doing that. That's my running style for this stage presentation. And they have all kinds of events that go on. Ironman's there. I just love to go down to the beach when they were just about ready to launch. Sunday morning, it's always Sunday morning, of course, and I have to work, but I wouldn't be an Ironman. They run 2 miles, and you get down to the beach and see them all getting ready, and the smell of neoprene fills the air. It's just magical. And there are all kinds of events. There's horse shows, and of course, different winter events. You could go down a bobsled, you could go up on the ski towers, and if you're part of the athletic groups, you get to use those things in a real way. Well, one thing that they were going to do is this half marathon. It was going to be on a couple of weeks ahead of time. I thought, wow, that might be interesting. I wonder if I could do it. It's only, what, 13 miles? I could handle that, I think, maybe. I was running maybe 5K every morning and then go home and have coffee. And it was a great way to start the day. And I was going to do this 5K, or half marathon. So I sent in my application, and was accepted as a runner. You didn't have to qualify in any way other than pay the $15, $20. And so I was in, and I was getting all excited about it and wondering, let's see, should I stretch more? Or what would I do to get ready? And mainly just eat and do what you usually do. Of course, I have my church job. And about a week before the event, I get a call on the phone, and it's the director of Parks and Recreations. He says, is this Father Jud? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And he says, well, I understand you're going to run at the race, the half marathon. I says, well, I hope to. And he says, great, we got your registration. You're all ready to go. Good. So we wondered if I could ask you a favor. Father Paul, the Roman Catholic priest, who's real athletic, you know, he usually does a blessing at the beginning of the race. Oh, well, Father Paul's not going to be there, so we were wondering if you would mind stepping in for him and giving a blessing for the half marathon. Oh, that would be great. Of course I would. And he says, well, there's one other thing. He usually does a little pep talk before the blessing, and everybody goes out with this attitude of, we can do it. Can you do that too? I'll try. So, time goes by, and I'm talking to one of my sons, Coach Ben, and he says, oh, Dad, I got the story for you. A great story. It's about eating hot dogs, a hot dog eating competition. And I says, really? I'm going to go running. That doesn't seem like, he says, well, listen. And he starts talking about, well, when you first start out, you're eyeing the competition, and then they hit the bell and you start eating, and you got to eat them fast. You got to get them down there before your stomach tells you you're full. And you keep putting them in there. And so, at 16, you don't even hardly chew. And at 28, you keep, you just put them in there. Keep putting them away. And okay. He says, now, the interesting part. You just ate number 66. Numbers, please. You just ate number 66. And the leader of the pack has stopped at 67. They're not going to eat anymore. So you look at 67 and you know the best way is fast. So you get it in there and it goes down. Now, can you do it? Just one more dog. So a little help here. 66, 67, 68. Okay, hot dog, there it is. You don't eat that hot dog because you like hot dogs. You eat that hot dog because you're in a hot dog eating competition. Well, I was blown away by this. I had not heard this, but it was exciting. I was ready to eat hot dogs after talking to Coach Ben. So, I'm being thus prepared and coming up with a blessing. Thank you. Coming up with a blessing. I go to work, and it was Good Sunday, and then Monday's usually a day off, so I did some running and relaxing, and who knows what I was doing. And then go in Tuesday morning, and it was a beautiful September morning in the Adirondacks. And I have to do liturgical schedules, and I see who's going to be acolyte, who's going to read, and who's going to do this next Sunday. And Gail, the secretary, says, a plane just hit the World Trade Center. And I go, oh, great. I'm thinking a single engine plane, a puddle jumper. How could people do that? They know there's skyscrapers in Manhattan. They got to fly around these things. This is crazy. That's sad. People just amaze me with things like that. And she says, well, it's on fire. What's on fire? The tower. No kidding. And she says, it's on TV too. Oh, really? So I live right next door, so I went and checked it out. And there it was, as those of you who are old enough to remember, 9/11. And I was watching the thing burn. I can't believe it. Wow, that's awful. That must have been a big plane. And then you see the second plane hit. And everybody knows. That image of President Bush looks like a deer caught in the headlights? That's how everybody felt. What a moment. And then to discover later that that wasn't the only attack. It was also at the Pentagon, and then a plane crashed mysteriously in the wilderness of Pennsylvania. What's going on here? Well, then we saw, I'm glued to the TV now, and then the things fall down and crumble, and what a disaster. What a terrible feeling. For those of us who lived through that disaster, that was very localized. That was New York's problem. Most of the rest of the country thought that it was visceral for people in Lake Placid, because a lot of people were from New York City. And there was one parishioner in my parish, a very wealthy man, powerful man, and he was an advertising mogul, and he's the guy who came up with Mr. Peanut. So I always referred to him as Mr. Peanut. And he heard about the race, and he calls me up and says, Jud, you're not going to run that race, are you? So, gee, I don't know. I have to think about it. He says, this is terrible. And I can understand his situation, his position, because he probably knew people that were in that building. Maybe he had friends that were there that day. I don't know. And then there was a treasurer of the church, used to work with people at the Pentagon. And he says, oh, I know right where that plane hit. And so people were very upset about it, and they had connections with it. And years later, I've dealt with people that were grieving that event. So that was a very sad thing. I'm thinking, wow, what am I going to do? So I contact the director of Parks and Recreations. Are we still going to have the marathon, half marathon? Yes, we are. Okay, I'll be there. And the idea was, why would we let somebody ruin our lives, everybody's life, for what they've done? You know, I could say a bad word, but the terrorists are not going to win. We're going to go out and we're going to run. And so I had my speech, just like that. I knew what it was going to be. And so I go to the park on Saturday, and so this is Tuesday to Saturday, and 200 or more people are there to run. Men and women, boys and girls are going to run together, and have to get ready. So you go to the tent, and you get your badge, ticket, whatever. So now I'm ready to run, and I need my shoes. I'm not sure that these are the ones I ran in, but that they may have been. They smell like it. So put those on. And the guy comes over, and I'm ready to go. And next thing I know, somebody's handed me a mic and said, go to it, Father Jud. Welcome, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, people from New York, people from Pennsylvania, people from Canada, people from New Jersey, all over New England, and speaking to them and saying, we are here together as one. We are united as people against this kind of terror. And we're going to run because it's what we should do. We should not let them stop us from having a life, from doing what is important to us. And I think this athletic experience is really important. And then I talked about, okay, numbers please. The hot dog story. So I gave them the pep story. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, and you're eating the hot dogs, and you get to 66. Okay, help. 67. And 68. And then I said, may God bless you and have a great race. Take care of each other while you're out there, and have fun. Have fun. And we'll see you at the finish line. So, hand the mic back. Boom! We're off. This is great. It's just a beautiful day. And we're running down River Road. It starts at the track at the park, and we're running down River Road, and it's up a hill, down a hill, and around this way, and the river's just down there, and there's a guy wearing a Spider-Man outfit, and then there's the young couple I married who are from Montreal, and they're running too, and all kinds of people, and some of them I know, but most of them I don't. And we're doing this little, it doesn't even have a line on the road, Blacktop River Road, and it's going pretty good, first part of it, and up the hill, down the hill, up the hill, down the hill, and it just seems to go on forever. And I'm handling it all right. And then, oh, there's the orange cone with a little flag on it, and we're supposed to turn around and go back. And so we do that, around the cone, and now we're headed back. And it's more of the same, although a different direction. And you're passing people, and people are passing you, and it's good fellowship on the road, jogging, if you can believe that. And there are some of the people that were, earnest to win, to come in first. And that hadn't caught on to me right away. I was just wanting to finish. I just wanted to finish. I just wanted to finish. And so here, we're getting there. We're almost to the track. And then there's this person. Wait a second, that doesn't look like a runner. They're running, but it doesn't look like a runner. How'd they get ahead of me? This person looks like a weightlifter, doesn't look like a runner. And this person is short, and this person is wide. And I'm gonna go back past this person. And so I started to go around the left side, and this person got in front of me, went to the left side. So I'll go around the right side, and this person went to the right side. This person was not gonna let me pass. And we're getting to the track, and this is the last quarter mile. So I'm trying to do it, and my heart is like, chest is exploding, my legs are rubber, can't catch my breath, and we're like neck and neck. And the thought occurs to me, numbers please. Val, numbers please. 66, 67, 68. I really poured on all I got. And this person starts to lose it, starts to slow down. And I get through the finish. Ta-da! I finished! And I beat that person! And how's it go? Da 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 da! Eye of the tiger! Sorry about that. And I went and finished. I got went to the tent, got my banana and bottle of water. They gave me my Lake Placid half marathon, September 15th, 2001 shirt. So I was feeling like way up there. Not only had I finished a half marathon, I gave possibly the best speech and blessing I've ever done in my whole life. And it's such a historic occasion. This is awesome. This was amazing. I'm just like, it was wonderful. And then, I need to tell you this last part, which will be the postlude, if you will. And we'll count one more time. But not yet. Monday rolls around, and the Lake Placid News will have all the, well, I'll back up, I got ahead of myself. So I go to the time board after I got my banana and my glass of water, my drink of water, and I'm looking at the time board, and there's all these names. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of people, over 200 people ran, and where am I? Ah! They wrote, my name is J-U-D, first name. Somebody wrote Judy, J-U-D-Y. But it was on the men's side, so that was okay, I guess. And I thought, somebody knew I was running and they gave me a little and so that's fine. So, okay. Then Monday, I go get the Lake Placid News and looking, there's the times and everything, all the runners there, and it says it was a historic event. Father Frank gave an inspiring invocation. So, 66, 67, 68. Thank you very much.
I'm exhausted. One more time for Judy. Judy Pealer, yeah. Wow. It'd be better if we had that box. Oh, yeah, next time. Oh, my goodness, thank you. Thank you, storytellers, Anna, Jud, Amanda, Rob, Laura. Thank you very much for your time. You folks for coming here and listening. And when you leave here, you get to go out there and make some more memories that you can turn into stories and come back and share them with us, okay? All right. Thank you very much. Have a good night.